Take a good look at these scenes under heavy fog. A group of soldiers riding motorcycles and driving cars falling apart. It almost looks like a scene from the movie Mad Max, but it's reality. And it happened in the last few weeks around Pokrovsk, a Ukrainian city under intense dispute. But the worst is yet to come. Russia sent 170,000 men there, and the result was a complete disaster. Putin, well, he must be desperate. And I'll show you why now. Look, this map shows Pokrovsk. This city is what military analysts call the gateway to Donbas. It gets this name because it's in a crucial strategic position, connecting railway lines and the T-504 highway. This highway is the main artery that supplies Ukrainian forces throughout the eastern region. If this artery is cut, cities like Kramatorsk and Sloviansk become isolated. It's like cutting off the blood supply to a vital organ. But there's more. Pokrovsk is home to Ukraine's last coking coal mine. This type of coal is essential for producing steel. Losing this mine means that Ukraine could lose 40 to 50% of its steel production. We're talking about a direct impact on the war economy and the future reconstruction of the country. So when Putin decided to attack Pokrovsk, he wasn't just seeking a military victory, he was trying to strangle Ukraine's economic capacity. That was in February 2024, when Russia captured the city of Avdiivka. After that victory, the Kremlin immediately set its sights on Pokrovsk, which was just 39 kilometers to the northwest. But here's the problem. It took Russia 21 months to advance those 39 kilometers. 21 months. Less than 40 kilometers. This deeply frustrated the Kremlin. So, in the fall of 2025, Putin changed the strategy. He gathered between 150,000 and 170,000 soldiers in the Pokrovsk region. It was a high-stakes gamble. The objective was simple: capture the city at any cost. And when I say any cost, I mean it literally. Then, in October of 2025, something extraordinary happened. The Ukrainian President Zelensky announced that Russia had lost 25,000 soldiers in that region in just 30 days. 25,000. So you can get a sense of what that means. The Battle of Bakhmut, which was previously considered the bloodiest of the war, had between 15 and 20,000 Russian casualties per month. Pokrovsk has surpassed Bakhmut. Over 800 soldiers are lost daily on a front under 20 kilometers wide. The Institute for the Study of War, an independent and respected organization, confirmed these numbers. Why did so many soldiers die? The answer is in the collapse of Russian tactics. You see, traditionally, the Russian army relied on what they call the mechanized fist. That means using tanks and armored vehicles in large numbers to break through enemy lines. But in Pokrovsk, that tactic simply stopped working. Ukrainian drones, especially first-person view drones equipped with thermal cameras, have turned every Russian armored vehicle into an easy target. Russia lost the equivalent of 5 full divisions of armored vehicles in the region. 5 divisions. So the Russian command tried something different. They went back to the human wave tactic, which had worked in Bakhmut. The idea was simple: send so many soldiers that the Ukrainian defense wouldn't be able to handle the numbers. But this also failed. The Ukrainian forces had evolved. Brigades trained by the French, the 155th Mechanized Brigade. They used modern tactics that neutralized the waves of infantry before they even got close to the front lines. And that's when Russia did something that seems straight out of a dystopian movie. They adopted what became known as the Mad Max Doctrine. Without enough armored vehicles and with human wave attacks failing, the Russian command started using old Soviet minivan motorcycles called Bukanka and even civilian cars. The idea was that these light vehicles, moving quickly under the fog, could infiltrate Ukrainian lines without being detected. On the morning of November 10th, this tactic was put into action. A bizarre convoy of motorcycles and civilian vehicles entered the southern suburb of Pokrovsk under dense fog. At first, it seemed like it might work. The fog covered their movements, but the Russians made a fatal mistake. They underestimated Ukrainian technology. The Unmanned Systems Battalion of the 60th Jagger Brigade, which calls itself the Dobush Wasps, was waiting. These drone operators weren't just using regular optical cameras. Their drones had advanced thermal cameras, and thermal cameras don't care about fog. They detect heat, the heat from motorcycle engines, the body heat of soldiers, fog that the Russians thought would protect them. It became irrelevant. What happened next was a systematic hunt. One by one, the Ukrainian first-person view drones destroyed the motorcycles, the minivans, the cars. The videos show at least 6 motorcycles on fire, soldiers running in panic, being chased by drones. It wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. The Russian convoy was completely annihilated. Even Russian military propagandists acknowledged the reality. Boris Rosen, a well-known Russian military blogger, wrote on November 10th, "If you look at Pokrovsk with a drone camera, you can barely see any soldiers. Drones monitor all access routes, and only the bravest manage to cross that barrier alive." But what he called courage was actually a suicide mission. That was just the tip of the iceberg. The real disaster for Russia was the structural collapse of its forces. The 41st Russian Army, which was leading the attack on Pokrovsk, simply disintegrated. Leaked Russian documents already showed that in 2025, brigades like the 74th Marine Brigade had lost more than twice their original strength. The Kremlin knew that the 41st Army was disintegrating, but it kept sending more men. This is important for you to understand. When we talk about the collapse of a military unit, we're not just talking about casualties. We're talking about the loss of command, control, the ability to coordinate attacks, to keep logistics running. The 41st Army was reconstituted multiple times, with mobilized troops and even penal battalions. These improvised units had no cohesion, no proper training. They were essentially cannon fodder for Putin's grinder. But Ukraine wasn't only playing defense. October 31, 2025. Something remarkable happened with the garrison in Pokrovsk. Facing a partial siege and with supply lines under constant Russian fire, the main Ukrainian intelligence directorate carried out a daring operation under the personal supervision of Kirilo Budanov, the head of Ukrainian military intelligence. American Black Hawk helicopters were used to insert special forces directly into the combat zone. These helicopters flew extremely low, almost skimming the ground, to avoid Russian radars and air defenses. The objective of the mission was to reopen the logistics corridor that connected the garrison to the main supply lines and eliminate Russian sabotage groups operating in the rear. The operation was a tactical success. The special forces managed to stabilize the defensive perimeter and reopen the supply route. This operation shows something crucial. Ukraine maintained air mobility capability, even in one of the most contested airspaces on the planet. That's no small feat. While Russia was losing thousands of men in desperate frontal assaults, Ukraine was carrying out precision operations with careful planning. But, going back to the numbers for a moment, 25,000 casualties in 30 days in a single sector. To put that in perspective, That's a rate of attrition that no modern army can sustain for very long. And you know what else? Those casualties weren't resulting in significant territorial gains. Russia advanced a few kilometers and took some villages, but at a huge cost. So seeing this, it's inevitable to ask a question. Why did Putin continue? Why accept this level of losses? To explain this, we need to go back a few months. The Kremlin's original strategy was to capture Pokrovsk before the new American government took office in January 2025. The idea was to present the war as a fait accompli, right at the start of the new administration, to create a position of strength for negotiations, and to demonstrate that the Ukrainian defeat was inevitable, despite Western aid. But Putin missed that window of opportunity. February and March came, and Pokrovsk kept resisting. Then came the brutal offensive of October and November 2025, the one that cost 25,000 lives in 30 days. And do you really want to know why that happened? Probably because Putin was desperate, trying to make up for lost time. He was trying to force a victory that should have happened 10 months earlier. And the result, as you saw, was catastrophic. The sacrifice of 25,000 men was supposed to produce the victory he needed. But in fact, it produced the opposite. It showed the world that the Russian army had lost the ability to conduct modern military operations effectively. And there's another element in this story that needs to be mentioned. 314 Russian soldiers were positively identified, trying to infiltrate Pokrovsk, dressed as civilians. 314. This isn't a conventional tactic. It's perfidy, a war crime under the Geneva Convention. Wearing civilian clothes in combat is explicitly prohibited by the laws of war. The fact that Russia resorts to this on a large scale shows the level of desperation. Ukraine responded by turning Pokrovsk into a giant trap. Elite units carried out systematic hunting operations against these infiltrators. In a case that gained attention, Russian infiltration groups tried to claim a propaganda victory by raising a flag on the Pokrovsk City Council building. The victory lasted for hours. Ukrainian forces immediately counterattacked, retook the building, and eliminated the infiltrators. This proved that the city had not fallen. The Russian infiltration groups inside it were being systematically hunted down house by house. Now, let's discuss what this means in the larger context. Pokrovsk is not just a battle, it's a case study of what happens when 20th century military doctrines confront 21st century technology and tactics. Russia entered this war expecting that numerical superiority and sheer firepower would be enough. In Pokrovsk, they learned that they're not. The doctrine of the mechanized fist collapsed because every armored vehicle became an easy target for drones. The doctrine of human waves failed because Ukraine had well-trained forces and superior technology, which neutralized the attack before it got close. And the doctrine of infiltration failed because Ukrainian special forces turned the city into a death zone for infiltrators. So then, what was left? Motorcycles and old minivans, in a fog that hid nothing, soldiers dressed as civilians being hunted, an army that lost 25,000 men in a month without achieving its objective. As you can see, this has nothing to do with military strategy. It's a form of institutionalized desperation. Here is the harsh truth. Even if Russia eventually captures Pokrovsk, like it did with Bakhmut and Avdiivka, it has already lost something more valuable. It lost thousands of soldiers who cannot be easily replaced with the same quality. And it lost the narrative that Russian victory was inevitable. The truth is that Pokrovsk became the epicenter where the 21st century defeated the 20th century. It's where drone warfare and special operations proved to be superior to brute force and firepower. It's where tactical flexibility defeated rigid doctrine. And it's where Putin learned in the most expensive way possible. That numbers alone don't guarantee victory in modern warfare. Now it is. I want to know your opinion. Do you think drone technology has really changed forever the way wars will be fought in the future? Leave your answer in the comments below. And if this content helped you better understand what's happening in Pokrovsk, share it with someone who's also interested in this topic and subscribe to the channel. For more analyses like this, see you next time.